Vikings. The name conjures up vivid images of ferocious warriors, stormy seas, and dramatic battles. But the real Vikings were far more than the stereotypes we've grown up with. They were explorers, settlers, innovators, and storytellers. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into the Viking Age, separating fact from fiction and uncovering the true legacy of these fascinating people. By the end of this video, you'll see the Vikings as they really were: complex, daring, and surprisingly relatable. Stay with us, this is a story worth hearing. Before we dive into the facts, let's talk about the myths. Hollywood and pop culture have painted a very specific image of Vikings. Horned helmets, wild beards, constant violence, and an unquenchable thirst for battle. While this makes for entertaining stories, it's far from the truth. Take the horned helmet, for example. We've all seen it on posters in video games, even on costumes. But archaeological evidence tells a different story. Viking helmets were simple and functional, often made from iron or leather. They were designed for protection, not intimidation. The horns? They're a 19th century invention, popularized by artists and opera performances. While they look cool, they're pure fantasy. Another common misconception is that Vikings were nothing more than bloodthirsty raiders. Yes, they raided, but they also traded, explored, and built thriving communities. Their story is far more nuanced than the savage image we're often shown. To understand the Vikings, we need to go beyond the cliches. So, who were the Vikings? The term Viking doesn't refer to a specific group of people or even a nation. It comes from the Old Norse word Vikingur, meaning a pirate or raider. But the people we call Vikings were mostly farmers, fishermen, and traders from Scandinavia, modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Their lives were centered around their villages. They farmed the land, raised livestock, and fished in the cold northern seas. Life in Scandinavia was harsh, with long, freezing winters and limited resources. This drove the Vikings to look beyond their shores, not just for plunder, but for opportunities to trade, settle, and explore. One of the most defining moments of the Viking Age was the raid on Lindisfarne in 793 AD. This attack on a peaceful monastery shocked Europe and marked the beginning of what we now call the Viking Age. From that point on, Viking raids became infamous for their speed, ferocity, and devastating impact. But here's the thing: while the raids were brutal, they were also strategic. Vikings targeted monasteries and towns not because they were heartless, but because these places were wealthy and poorly defended. Silver, gold, and other valuables were stored in monasteries, making them prime targets. Over time, Viking raids spread from England to Ireland, France, Spain, and even the Mediterranean. Their long ships allowed them to strike quickly and retreat before local forces could respond. These ships were a technological marvel, capable of navigating both open seas and shallow rivers, giving the Vikings unparalleled mobility. But raiding was only part of the story. The Vikings were also skilled explorers and traders. Their trade network stretched from Scandinavia to the Middle East, connecting Europe to the Byzantine Empire and beyond. They traded furs, amber, and walrus ivory for silk, spices, and silver. Imagine a Viking marketplace, lively, diverse, and full of goods from across the known world. They weren't just warriors, they were entrepreneurs, forming the backbone of a vast trading network that spanned continents. And let's not forget their incredible voyages of exploration. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson led an expedition to Vinland, modern-day Newfoundland, Canada. This made the Vikings the first Europeans to set foot in North America, nearly 500 years before Columbus. Back home, Viking life was a mix of hard work and community. They lived in longhouses, large wooden structures shared by entire families. Life revolved around farming, fishing, and seasonal festivals. These were tight-knit communities where everyone had a role to play. And here's something remarkable: Viking women had rights that were unheard of in many other cultures at the time. They could inherit property, run businesses, and even divorce their husbands. Women often managed farms and households while the men were away on expeditions. They weren't just caretakers, they were leaders. The Vikings were also passionate about storytelling. Their sagas, epic tales of gods, heroes, and legendary voyages, were passed down orally for generations before being written in Old Norse. These stories are a treasure trove of history, myth, and culture. Their creativity didn't stop with stories. Viking art is filled with intricate carvings, metalwork, and designs that are still admired today. From ship decorations to jewelry, their craftsmanship was extraordinary. The Viking Age ended over 1,000 years ago, but their legacy is everywhere. From place names in England to the Norse mythology that inspired modern movies, the Vikings left an indelible mark on the world. Today, we celebrate their courage, innovation, and creativity. But perhaps the most important lesson from the Viking Age is this: they weren't just warriors. They were builders, explorers, and dreamers who dared to push the boundaries of their world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the Viking Age. If you enjoyed uncovering the truths behind the myths, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Let us know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like us to explore. Until next time, farewell, and may the spirit of adventure guide you.